Hello and welcome to Voice of America's broadcast from Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm Sarah Zaman and we're present at the Time Warner Cable Arena with Zerlina Maxwell. Zerlina is a Democratic strategist and also an opinion maker
Yes.
and an analyst. So we're going to ask her about this convention and get her take on how the events are going on so far. So Zerlina, once again, thank you so much for joining
Thank
us.
you for having me.
First question is, what's your take on what's been happening so far?
I really think night one was a home run. You know, the energy levels were high all the way throughout. I think it started out strong. The House Democratic women got the crowd really, really revved up. And then it just went from Deval Patrick to the mayor of San Antonio, Castro. And then, you know, the anchor of the night, the highlight of the night, Michelle Obama, the first lady, brought it all home. And the crowd was on hanging on her every single word. People around me were crying by the end, and I think that she really enthused the crowd.
How would you rate Michelle Obama's speech compared to Ann Romney's?
I think that Ann Romney's speech was very strong and solid, and for a lot of Americans, it was the first time they really saw her in an interview or in public, in a public setting. And so I think that, you know, it seems somewhat coached in certain portions, right? She was a little bit giddy when she came out. I think that it was a strong speech, but in comparison, you know, Michelle Obama's been in the media spotlight for 4 years. She's authentic. It's emotional. You can feel it. She brings people to tears. She makes them inspired. And in some ways, I feel that, you know, she's a different inspirational figure than even her husband. I think that in some ways she's a little bit better.
Right, and in some ways she doesn't have the same burden that President Obama has, not the same duties that he has. So I think that gives her a little bit more flexibility to talk to her audience.
Exactly right.
We saw that 28,000 tweets per minute came during Michelle Obama's speech. What does that mean for voters, and particularly for Democratic Party? Do those 28,000 tweets per minute ever translate into votes?
The fact that, you know, there were so many tweets during Michelle Obama shows that there's a level of enthusiasm that maybe, you know, the media didn't realize was there. And now we're really seeing that in the form of social media, because that's where people are. Michelle Obama in the Black Caucus meeting this morning, she said, if you know 5 people, because in the state of like North Carolina, 15,000 votes made the difference in 2008. And so that's 5 votes per precinct. So if you know 5 people and you send them a tweet the morning of the election, or even to make sure that they're registered to vote first, and then send them a tweet or a Facebook message the morning of the election and say, did you vote? Do you need a ride to the polls? 5 people per precinct. That could make the difference in the outcome of the Electoral College, because it's really going to come down to the battleground states in the end anyway.
President Obama's speech from the final night is being moved from the stadium to the arena. Now, the stadium was going to have about an audience of 76,000 people, whereas in the arena you can fit about 20,000 people.
Right.
How do you think this is going to affect the impact that President Obama's speech could have had?
I think as an organizing tool, it's definitely going to put a damper on the effectiveness that this convention can have. However, I think, you know, Obama's going to give a great speech. I think we all can agree on that.
What about just the theatrics of a convention? Because as people at home are watching, looking at a crowd of 76,000 on your screen versus looking at a crowd of 20,000, do you think that could in any way affect the opinion or the views that people might have of the convention, of the president's speech, and also just the amount of invigoration that they wanted to see in their voter base?
If he's able to knock it out of the park in terms of substance and style and get the 20,000 people that are here fired up and ready to go, as the campaign likes to say, you know, I don't think it matters where it is. I think that if he is able to give a substantial speech, you know, that's going to be viewed on YouTube, and maybe that has the same impact, if not more, of, you know, giving it live to 65,000 people.
Conventions are one of the most heavily televised campaign events. Are these make or break events?
I don't think that conventions can make a candidate, but they can definitely break a candidate. And, you know, there's 4 times before an election on November 6th that the candidates will be able to really show themselves to a large number of American voters that may or may not be political junkies and paying attention. That's the convention speech, their acceptance speech of the nomination, and the 3 debates. And so those are the most heavily televised events during an election cycle. And so I think that it really gives, I can't wait for the debates, right? Because there's a clear choice in this election. And so that's, the candidates will be able to give their acceptance speeches at the conventions, and then really be able to show Americans that there are really distinct visions that each of these 2 candidates have.
Thank you so much, Zerlina Maxwell, for joining us.
Thank you.
And once again, we're coming to you from Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm Sarah Zaman with Voice of America. Thank you so much for watching.